Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Now, I'm sure you've heard about the statement that was recently released by Harry and Meghan regarding the word royal in their branding. And this has been making so much news lately, and so I wanted to give my opinion on it in case I didn't fully flesh that out in the latest podcast. So just a bit of background. Sussex Royal, the name that we've become accustomed to, whether it's the Instagram, whether it's your website. Sussex Royal started when Harry and Meghan began to develop their charitable entity and wanted to differentiate themselves from their lesser counterparts. And I'm realizing I just said lesser counterparts. I do apologize. I meant lesser and weaker counterparts. And in reality, we can't blame them for wanting to distance themselves from that. Now, April 1st, 2020 is what I'm going to call Liberation Day. Well, on April 1st, 2019, that was the debut of the name Sussex Royal, where we saw it on Instagram first. They began to develop their foundation. At the time, they were calling it a foundation. And they have since told us that they don't intend to create a foundation anymore, but they protected the name, trademarking it, and also bought the domain name Sussex Royal. Then recently, we began to hear the rumblings of royal reporters as they began jizzing all over themselves about the fact that the Sussexes' use of the word royal was under review by the Queen, and somehow they would be beat into submission over the word. At least that's how the royal reporters were trying to portray this. Fast forward to this week, the statement where the Sussexes are acknowledging that they will get rid of the word from their branding and basically start from scratch with their entity's name is essentially where we are now. Now, what's important to keep in mind, and I haven't heard a whole lot of people talking about it, is this statement comes ahead of their return to the UK. And as you may know, Meghan and Harry will be returning to the UK in pretty much a week's time, really less than a week's time. They may already be there. And they're going to be there up through the first part of March. Hopefully they'll be out of that cesspool by the Ides of March, because y'all remember what happened to Julius Caesar. Et tu, Brute? I'm not playing. Please exit by the Ides of March. So I'm vocal about the fact that no one in that snake pit can be trusted. But either way, the Sussexes are due to return. The statement was just released. And so if that wasn't enough, the fact that they're returning and the tabloids are about to go crazy, and I'm sure many people in England are going to be so happy that they're there. The fact that they have to actually make a statement about the pettiness of the institution of the monarchy over a word that they don't own, it's like gas to a fire. But what sticks out to me about the statement, first and foremost, Harry and Meghan are not with the lies. And they are well aware of the lies that have been told about them. Not just over this topic, but through and through. They know the lies and the mistruths being tossed about them, such as the Sussexes just want to trademark their brand so they can sell merch and capitalize. They just want to use, or rather misuse, the royal brand. We know that is completely false. It's obvious how false that is. Who's misusing, and I keep saying this, and I'm sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record, but we can pinpoint people in the family who are misusing the royal brand long before Meghan even joined the family. This isn't about that. They want us to believe it's about that, but we know it's not about that when it comes to Harry and Meghan. That's just what they're putting out there. Harry and Meghan, with this statement, are saying, we see what you're trying to do, so let us let the people know what the real tea is. But what this statement also says is that they are done playing nice with people who don't deserve it, and they'll continue to get the factual information out come hell or high water. They're going to do that. And believe it or not, that was a big part of them creating their own platforms and stepping outside of what was already there, the mouthpieces that were already there to speak on behalf of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. If you didn't know, that's not a reliable spokesperson for you. They knew that from the jump. Therefore, they created their own platforms. I think that's at the root of them creating their own platforms. Now they have those platforms that they can use whenever they feel like it to speak for themselves. And that has proven to be a reliable way for them to get out their own factual information, especially as it pertains to their transition out of the circus. But they're also calling out the hypocrisy of the entire institution of the royal family as they've gone through this transition. Because when they say there is a precedent for other titled members of the royal family to seek employment outside of the institution, however, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been subjected to a 12-month review period, I hear, even though we've been cooperating, understand we're being treated differently. There's a precedent for this, and yet they want to subject us to a review. No one else was subject to a review. And we're the royals you said were being actively phased out. How ridiculous is that? That's what I hear. And in that light, I have to ask, first of all, what is there to review? Harry and Meghan's star power has always made me believe that the family will do anything to keep Harry and Meghan under their thumbs, because if they can control and harness that power, it would be all for their benefit. Of course, it's to Harry and Meghan's detriment, but it's for their benefit. But because Harry and Meghan know this and much prefer peace and quiet and safety and control, it's my belief that the royal family want to do everything imaginable to keep Harry and Meghan from making that clean break. That should have been so easy for them to make. They want to make it as hard as possible. And no one has ever had to be reviewed after stepping down, but somehow the Sussexes do. So this is them acknowledging that. Now to the request of Harry and Meghan not using the word royal in their new roles as non-working members of the royal family. In the statement, Harry said what I love to mention on this podcast. Essentially, he's still your sixth in line. He's only the sixth in line. Nobody should be putting this much heat on someone who's only the sixth in line. But he's letting you know, I'm still that girl. I'm still your sixth in line girl. To that little funky British crown. And he's still the blood prince. And I'll take it even further. My wife is still a princess to the UK. And my son, he's still the seventh in line. We're still that, and we're going to be that. So royal ain't none but a word to me. And he said that just so the girls knew. That's what I feel. Because people tend to forget Harry's still Harry. And to me, that further proves to me, at least in terms of what they're seeing that people all of a sudden started to regard Harry differently when he married a woman of color. He's letting you know, I'm still y'all's royalty. Not that he cares to be regarded as that, but you've been calling me a prince all my life because I am one. So this is really literally nothing but a word. But since y'all want to be petty, since y'all want to be nasty, here's your word back. He goes on to say, while there is not any jurisdiction by the monarchy or cabinet office over the use of the word royal overseas, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex do not intend to use Sussex royal or any iteration of the word royal in any territory, either within the UK or otherwise, when the transition occurs spring 2020. March 31st, April 1st. Y'all can keep your little word. Because we're still who y'all gonna call should a catastrophic event wipe out all your faves, God forbid. You know, I don't like the Cambridges, but I'm not that cruel. But there's a reason the line of succession is in place, right? But he's also letting people know that he could keep the word there and literally no one could do anything about it. And I still believe, because Harry respects his grandmother, whether she's actually calling the shots actively or not, he still respects her. He respects her role in the country. So he's going to respect whatever decisions the people in her office makes. If for anything so as to not give people the satisfaction to say he has disrespected his grandmother. But what I just don't understand, again, is that calling Harry non-royal is like calling Beyonce non-rich, calling Jeff Bezos really non-rich, non-wealthy. Because they know the world loves both Harry and Meghan so much, and they know Harry loves his wife so much, they despise him for it. And so they're holding on to that word for dear life, when it actually makes no sense to. And in doing so, they're making everyone else question the value of the word as it applies to the royal family. What with Andrew and Fergie and Autumn and Peter and late Middleton and Prince Dildo and all of the other floundering fools that they got over there. We're all starting to wonder. It's like they're taking all of their advice from a loud racist minority section of the English public. Everything they've said, have you noticed? Everything that the most vocal critics of Meghan, everything that they've said in criticism of Meghan, the palace has basically enforced. From Frogmore to the sovereign grant funding the Sussexes, and now this word royal. It's incredible. In the meantime, the Sussexes have existed in that context. Onlookers have been pushing to see this idea of modern royalty. I mean, the people who have common sense, right? No one actually cares about royalty in the traditional sense. No one but the royal family. And it just doesn't fit with the times. Yet they've been so traditional in their approach, even after Harry and Meghan became the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, that's why nobody relates to them. That's why we see people adapting Meghan and Harry's style only after they see how people connect to it. But they don't really pull it off, do they? It's like store brand versus the real thing. Nothing wrong with the store brand. It's just not the real thing. That is to say, bikies are not the same as Nikes. I think Harry and Meghan knew they were being used. They know it now. And yet they know their effort, the effort they put into trying to be that idea of modern royalty, it still pays because they didn't have to change who they were. They are still who they are. And to be honest, I think people will still see them as whatever their idea of royalty is, because Harry is still a prince. He's still a blood prince. And not to mention the fact that Meghan and Harry are literally the only people to come out of the royal family who don't need the word as a crutch, as some kind of cred for who they are in the world. And that's why they can so freely give up the word. They're the only ones who can do that. There are flops with titles and honors who can't even succeed if the word royal was emblazoned on their foreheads. And I don't have to name names. The fact is, you know I'm telling the truth. And speaking of titles, I love that Harry and Meghan also let the world know that just in case the truth runs away with the lie, they're still y'all's royal highnesses. It's them that are choosing to not use those titles. but there's power in demonstrating that it is not that important to them. Again, they don't need them. Unlike some other folks, that must be emphasized. Ultimately, I am so glad that Harry and Meghan feel confident in speaking up for themselves. They are a true example of speaking their truths to power. People may look at that or hear that and say, oh, well, they're powerful enough, or they're powerful in their own right. They're still speaking truth to power, because we're talking about an age-old, very powerful English monarchy. Even though they're stupid, even though they're clownish, even though they're pretty much sticking their heads in the sand, not even taking the temperature of the room. You wonder how people can have that much power and be that stupid, but they have it, and it takes courage to speak out. It takes courage to speak and say, actually, y'all are lying. This is the truth. In such a public way. So I'm very proud of them for not even shying away from doing that, knowing they're about to go right over there in the middle of it. That should be applauded. And so I say, Harry and Meghan, we cannot wait for you guys to get the heck up out of there. We can't wait for you to finally be able to not just turn the page, close the whole damn book and start writing your own. You don't need them. I understand wanting the respect of people that say they're your family, but also wanting to demonstrate respect for your elders. I totally get it, but you don't have to be disrespected in the process. Kudos to you. That's all I can say on it for now, but why don't you guys tell me what you think about the whole thing? Comment below and make sure you like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. Find me on Twitter. Find me on Instagram. Catch y'all on the next one.